Welcome to Life Stories, where sometimes the deepest betrayal doesn't come from strangers, but from the people who once rocked you to sleep. Imagine giving everything your money, your time, your youth to hold your family together, only to discover that when it mattered most, you were never even counted. This isn't just a story about inheritance, it's about the quiet ways we erase those who show up without asking for praise. It's about the moment you realize that being the strong one doesn't mean you're unbreakable. One woman learns the truth about her place in her family, not through a fight, but through a silent line in a document, a line that changes everything. Stay with us, because what she does next will challenge everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and what it really means to walk away. Let's begin. Claire always believed that if she stayed quiet long enough, did enough, gave enough, then eventually someone would notice. Love surely had to be earned. And she had earned it, hadn't she? It was an ordinary Saturday when the lie finally broke. The old red brick house in Boulder still smelled faintly of rosemary and lemon polish. Claire had stopped by, like she always did on weekends, to help her mom Denise with tech issues, mostly scanning bills, replying to letters, managing online accounts. Her younger sister Madison was probably off somewhere doing a sponsored depression recovery post for Instagram with a soy latte she didn't pay for. Claire didn't judge anymore. She had long given up hoping her sister would turn into someone who noticed things, like overdue bills, leaky roofs, or aging parents quietly falling apart. Her mom was trimming orchids in the backyard when she handed Claire a stack of messy documents, murmuring, "See if anything's urgent." Claire sat at the dining table she had once helped stain and varnish, the same table where her father Tom used to fall asleep mid-conversation. Her fingers sifted through insurance policies, tax forms, expired coupons, and then landed on a thick, cream-colored envelope labeled Estate Plan and Will. She paused. Her heartbeat didn't speed up. She wasn't nosy. Not really. But she always made sure things were in order. It was her role, after all. The moment her eyes reached the asset distribution page, something inside her shifted. Everything. The house, the savings, the SUV, even her mother's wedding ring. All to Madison. Her name wasn't just second. It wasn't there at all. The will ended with a single line. "We love both our daughters." Claire blinked. Then again. Then harder. She stared at the paper as if it might suddenly apologize. She wasn't sure how long she sat there, only that when her mother came back in, smiling faintly and asking about a bank statement, Claire was already standing. "Is this real?" Claire's voice was calm, almost eerie. Her mom stopped. "What? Oh, Claire, that's just a what?" Claire held up the document like a verdict. "A mistake? A draft? An accident?" "It's complicated," her mom said too quickly. "You know we trust you. Madison she needs more security." Claire let out a laugh. No sound came out, just breath and disbelief. "She needs more? She's 30, Mom. She hasn't held a job longer than a few months. She lives off affiliate links and pity." Tom walked in then, coffee in hand, not a trace of surprise on his face. "You don't need to be upset," he said, as if she were being unreasonable. "You're doing fine on your own. We just wanted to make sure Madison had a cushion." The final blow didn't come from the document. It came from the silence that followed. Claire didn't scream. She didn't throw the will across the room. She just nodded, then placed it gently back on the table, like returning something that had never truly belonged to her. "Thanks for clearing that up," she said and walked out. No one followed her. 2 weeks passed. No calls, no texts. Like she had vanished and no one noticed. Until a message came from Tom. "Claire, the mortgage is due Friday. Can you transfer the usual amount?" Claire stared at it. Not "how are you?" Not "can we talk?" Just "send money." Her fingers moved slowly as she typed her reply. "I think Madison can handle it. The house is hers now, right?" The response came within minutes, this time from her mother. "Claire, don't do this. We need to talk." But Claire didn't reply. She didn't cry. She didn't even feel angry. What she felt was something colder, something clearer. It was over. For years, Claire had been the net beneath a family that never looked down to see her. She had paid the bills, repaired the broken, stayed up late researching Medicare plans, but none of it had been enough to be named. She had loved them without conditions, and they had quietly decided she was dispensable. The next message came from Madison. "You're overreacting. Mom and Dad didn't mean it like that. You've always been the strong one. I'm not like you know that." Claire's response was short. "Then prove you deserve what they gave you. Start by paying the mortgage." Silence, the kind that stretches into days, then weeks, until the silence cracked. It was a Monday morning when Claire's phone buzzed with a transfer request, $2,900 from her mother. No explanation, just a number. She declined. A minute later, the phone rang. She let it go to voicemail. The message that followed was almost cruel in its simplicity. "Claire, why did you decline?" She stared at the text, then typed, "Because it's no longer my responsibility. Ask Madison." That night, she slept for 8 uninterrupted hours. For the first time in years, her dreams didn't begin in that house. They began in a future where she was free. How do you define family? By blood, or by the way they treat you when no one's watching? Can you truly forgive someone who only reaches out when they need something? What Claire finds next will force her to choose between the peace she's built and the guilt she's been taught to carry. Continue to part 2. Claire didn't expect the quiet to last, but she hoped it would. She had removed her name from the mortgage account, canceled every auto pay bill she'd once handled, and deleted the spreadsheet she used to update every month like scripture. With each small erasure, she felt her lungs expand. The suffocating air of obligation was thinning. Weeks passed. Her apartment started to feel like a real home. She signed up for a weekend photography workshop at the local arts center. She slept in on Sundays. She even bought a chocolate cake, ate it with her fingers on the couch, and laughed when frosting hit her shirt. Then, one rainy afternoon, came the knock. Claire opened the door to find Madison standing there, mascara smudged, hoodie soaked, clutching a half-wet folder of documents like a student who'd lost control of the project. Her voice cracked before she even spoke. "I just need 5 minutes." Claire crossed her arms. "You here to ask for money?" Madison shook her head too quickly. "No, yes. Not exactly." Claire didn't move. Madison pushed forward. "I can't make sense of the loan language. The bank's threatening foreclosure. Mom's crying every day. I didn't know it would spiral like this." Claire raised an eyebrow. "What about the inheritance? You signed for everything. You own the house." Madison's voice fell. "It's tied up. The money's in an investment account. Dad said penalties for early withdrawal. I thought we had more time." "You didn't think," Claire said quietly. "You never think. That was always my job." Madison looked down. The silence stretched too long. Claire stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind her. Her voice was cool, but not unkind. "You're 30 years old, Madison. You inherited a house you never paid a cent for. You ignored the maintenance, the deadlines, the reality, and now you want me to explain it to the bank?" Madison's face crumpled. "I know I messed up, but Mom's not doing well. She's not herself." Claire felt a flicker of old instinct, the urge to go inside, pull out her laptop, make calls, fix things. But she clenched her jaw. "I warned you," she said. "I waited. I hoped. You all made your choice." Madison whispered, "So you're really letting it fall apart? I'm letting you face the consequences of being chosen when you weren't ready." And with that, Claire turned, walked back inside, and shut the door. That night, she couldn't sleep, not because she was conflicted, but because something had cracked. She realized for the first time that she didn't want revenge. She didn't want them to fall. She just didn't want to keep being the net underneath everyone else's recklessness. The next morning, she opened her email and found one from Ben, an old classmate turned real estate agent. "Claire, random, but is your parents' place on Maplewood Lane? I think they just listed it. House needs a lot of work. Foreclosure risk flagged." Claire stared at the screen. The place she had once kept from falling apart tile by tile was now tagged as distressed property, a warning label in a database. She closed the tab and made tea. Later that afternoon, at the art center, she led a group of high school students in their first outdoor shoot. She watched them laugh and chase angles of light, their lenses turned toward the world. One girl, maybe 16, turned to her and asked, "Do you ever photograph your family?" Claire hesitated. "Not anymore," she said. That night, as she curled up with her laptop, a new email arrived. Subject line, "Urgent, public statement from your mother." Claire's breath hitched. She clicked. Her mother's Facebook post was long, dramatic, and artfully vague. A photo of the house with soft sunlight behind it. A caption beneath, "It's hard when your own child abandons you during your most vulnerable years, after everything you gave them. Some people mistake boundaries for cruelty. Some people only return when it's too late." Claire sat still, reading the comments. Sympathy, support, condemnation. She recognized names, old neighbors, church friends, one from her high school choir teacher, people who didn't know the full story, but were quick to share their grief for the misunderstood mother. Then she saw Madison's post, a photo of the broken fence Claire had repaired twice. The caption, "Some of us inherit homes, others inherit silence." Claire's hands trembled, but not from rage. She was done staying quiet. She opened Facebook. Her profile was dusty, last updated years ago. She typed without flourishes, without cleverness. "My family is telling a one-sided story. Here's mine." She attached photos, the will with Madison's name, screenshots of bill payments, the $2,900 request. Then she wrote one final sentence. "My silence wasn't agreement. It was exhaustion. But now I'm awake." Within 10 minutes, the post had comments. An old colleague, "Claire, I had no idea. Proud of you for speaking up." A neighbor, "We always thought you were the one holding everything together. Now it makes sense." Another message, "Thank you. I needed to read this." Claire didn't refresh. She didn't wait for apologies. She just closed her laptop, walked to the window, and stood in the fading light. Across town, her parents were likely fuming. But inside her tiny apartment, peace had never felt so loud. Have you ever chosen peace over keeping the peace? And what did it cost you? Keep reading to discover what happens when silence is broken and truth refuses to be buried. The house on Maplewood Lane sold for far less than anyone expected. Claire saw the listing drop again and again, price slashed by tens of thousands. No offers, no interest. The photos showed a sagging roofline, chipped paint, overgrown hedges. The caption read, "Fixer-upper with potential." But Claire knew better. No amount of paint could cover what was broken beneath the surface. A week after her Facebook post, everything went quiet. Not the nervous kind of quiet that waits for a fight, but a final kind, like a slammed door that never reopens. Tom deleted his account. Denise took down her posts. Madison unfollowed her. Claire didn't feel triumphant. She felt something far stranger, release. There was a cost to speaking the truth. But there was also a clarity that came with it, like cleaning a wound that had festered for years, painful but necessary. She poured her energy into her students, her photography, her writing. Her blog about boundaries and rebuilding after betrayal gained quiet traction. Emails trickled in, strangers who felt seen, friends who hadn't known the truth, women who wrote, "I thought I was the only one." But as fall deepened into winter and snow glazed the sidewalks of Boulder, something else began to settle in Claire's chest. Not guilt, not regret, just a lingering ache. The kind that comes when you've stepped out of a storm only to realize how long you were soaked. Then one morning, a letter arrived. It was handwritten in her mother's delicate script, blue ink. Familiar curves. "Claire, I know you may never read this, but I hope you do. I don't know how to fix what we broke. I don't even know how to explain it. Your father isn't as strong as he used to be. The doctors say the fall wasn't serious, but he's confused more often now. Sometimes he forgets the day. Sometimes he asks when you're coming by. We shouldn't have written you out. I see that now. We assumed you'd be fine, that you'd always land on your feet. You were always so capable. We wanted to help Madison feel safe. But maybe we were wrong to think one child needed security and the other didn't need recognition. I'm sorry. I don't know how much time we have left to fix things. But if you're willing, I'm still here. Claire read it once, then again. She didn't cry. She folded the letter carefully and placed it in the drawer beneath her desk, next to old photos and poems she never finished. Some things, she thought, deserve a pause before they're answered. Weeks passed. She didn't call. But she didn't delete the number either. Instead, she kept living. She hosted a small photo exhibit at a local cafe. Her favorite piece was titled Unseen Hands, a close-up of her own palms, worn but steady, holding a frayed dish towel. A woman at the event, maybe in her 50s, approached her after the reading. "I don't know why," she said, "but your photos feel like they're telling a story I haven't said out loud yet." Claire smiled gently. "Maybe because they are." One afternoon in late January, she walked through Liberty Park with her new camera. The light was soft, winter sun filtering through bare branches. She captured a child running toward a flock of pigeons, a couple sharing a scarf, a woman on a bench crying into a phone. The world, she realized, was full of stories like hers. Messy, unfinished, real. That night, she found a message on her phone. "Claire, it's Madison. Dad's been in and out of the hospital. Mom's barely sleeping. I don't know what to do. I know you probably won't respond, but I had to try." Claire stared at the screen for a long time. Then, without thinking, she typed, "How bad is it?" A second later, the typing bubble appeared. "He forgets where he is. Last night he asked when you'd be home. He thought it was 2015. Claire leaned back, eyes fixed on the ceiling. For a brief moment, she was back in that house. Dad nodding off on the couch, TV flickering, the scent of cinnamon from the tea she had made for him every night. She closed her eyes. She didn't owe them anything. But maybe she owed something to herself, to choose how the story ended. 3 days later, she drove to Maplewood Lane. The house looked worse than the photos. The steps sagged. A window was cracked. The wreath on the door was faded. She didn't knock. She just sat in her car and stared. Then, after a long moment, she placed her camera on the passenger seat, started the engine, and drove away. Some returns aren't needed to heal. Some closures aren't conversations. Sometimes the truest forgiveness isn't for others. It's what you grant yourself when you finally walk away without bitterness. Claire never moved back, but she sent flowers on her father's birthday, paid anonymously for his medication that month, and donated in his name to the Alzheimer's Foundation. She never got a thank you. She didn't need one. She had chosen her version of peace, and that would always be enough. What part of Claire's journey spoke to you the most, and why? If you loved this story, comment 100 below. Tell us what country you're watching from. Share this video with a friend who needs to hear this story. Thank you for watching Life Stories.